Getting engaged can be stressful. Getting the right ring won't be at BlueNile.com. The jewelers at BlueNile.com have sparkle down to a science with beautiful lab-grown diamonds worthy of your most brilliant moments. Their lab-grown diamonds are independently graded and guaranteed identical to natural diamonds and ready to ship to your door. Get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code LISTEN at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com, code LISTEN for $50 off.
Hi, I'm Raj Punjabi from HuffPost.
And I'm Noah Michelson, also from HuffPost.
And we're the hosts of Am I Doing It Wrong?, a new podcast that explores the all-too-human anxieties we have about trying to get our lives right.
Each week on the podcast, Raj and I pick a new topic that we want to understand better and bring a guest expert on to talk us through how to get it right.
And we're talking like legit, credible experts. Doctors, PhDs, all-around superheroes.
From HuffPost and Acast Studios, check out Am I Doing It Wrong? Wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge. From worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Changing Times, the Allenwood Conversations.
Sponsored by the Meadowlands Hotel, Tralee.
I think the All-Ireland should be in September. I think they're sacred. I do believe that county managers should be from their county, or club managers should be from their clubs. I would think we have a very bright future in the GA, but I'd be just worried that the smaller clubs...
I remember the day your mummy died, but not so very long ago.
We were very, very close. I won't deny it. It's been very difficult.
Mary, have you ever met anybody who can light up a room faster than a goal in Croke Park?
Particularly if it's a goal from County Down, absolutely. Though he would himself not say that. He's that man with the voice as familiar as the Sunday game itself. And, of course, whose enthusiasm for sport is downright infectious. Legendary. He even played a mirror in a pantomime once.
It's true, yeah. I saw it. It was a special moment. Anyway, he was born in Mallow, raised in the Bronx, and a proud Clare man at heart. He's journeyed from the fields of West Clare to the screens of RTE, becoming the face. And let's not forget the dance moves of Gaelic Games commentary.
Yes, indeed, Mary. Whether he's on the sidelines with a microphone or cutting a dash on the dance floor, he brings an absolutely unique flair and passion to every single thing he does.
And a sense of huge fun, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, without further ado, we are going to welcome the man who puts the party in Marty. Drum roll. Ding, 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 ding. Marty Morrissey.
Hey! Well, I think we should end the podcast now because the introduction was so brilliant. It's going to go downhill from here on.
Oh, God forbid. Very unlikely. Very unlikely.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
I'm glad to have you here.
I'm glad I wrote it myself.
You did, yeah.
Marty, everybody knows you as the quintessential Clare man. Actually, you're a New Yorker, really, aren't you? Well, at least you were brought up in New York.
I was brought up in New York, yeah. I mean, when my parents got married, they were, I think, trying to have a child for some time. I arrived 4 years after they got married. Mm-hmm. And my mother, and Mary, you met my mother, yeah. And you know how stubborn Cork woman she was. And she said, I'm not going to bring up my son in New York, or my daughter, whatever it was going to be. So she came home. Dad had just gotten a job in Cook's Travel. And he was starting on the Monday, and I was she was pregnant, and I remember I was told I was born on a Tuesday. But anyway, she flew over on her own, heavily pregnant.
Back to Ireland.
Back to Ireland. Yeah. Back to her home area near Doneraile in North Cork.
And those were not like 5-hour journeys in those days.
They were 17 hours.
17 hours.
Propellers.
Oh, Lord bless.
And she always had a fear of flying ever since, because she told me that when she carried me back to New York in her arms, she could see the Atlantic Ocean underneath her. Because
for ages.
Yeah, for back 17 hours.
17 hours, yeah.
And my dad always, he always said that how brave she was to do that on her own.
On her own.
Yeah. So, it was. So New York is very important to me.
So you're brought back from Cork from Ireland as a tiny baby back to your dad, your mum and dad, now reunited with their little son in New York. So how long were you in New York then?
I was in New York until almost 11. My primary education was in the Bronx, in Bainbridge Avenue. And one particular, I spent about 6 months in Ireland as a 4 or 5 year old when my grandmother died on St. Patrick's Day, my dad's mom. And my grandfather died the following November. And he died of a broken heart because the two of them were inseparable. But we stayed for the time. And like my grandparents' house was attached house on the side of the road. Now we're very posh. We're now on the wild Atlantic Way, but we weren't back then. And it was a half door. And the grey horse that my grandfather had was a horse called Fanny. And Fanny used to listen to my grandmother in the open fire, giving out to my grandfather of wearing the hat coming into the house. It was a round hat, as farmers wore from the sun. And this horse was just amazing. And I saw it for myself. Only for that, I'll just tell you the story. As the horse was coming up the road, you know where our home place is now? Quilty. And my grandparents' place was just at the crossroads. So it was halfway down the hill. So when they come up the hill, as he was approaching my grandparents' house, the horse would take, with his teeth, take the hat off my grandfather's head. That's the truth.
So that he wouldn't get into trouble going home.
And he'd come in the half door, his head was in the door and his backside was out, and he had the round hat in his teeth. That is fact. And when my grandfather died, my grandfather died All Souls Day, whatever it is, 1st of November. And we stayed until Christmas, but for the following 4 weeks, the horse was never a big grey horse. And the horse broke out and every night was on the road, and my father was worried, and he called a cousin of ours who was a vet, and he said, I think the horse is dying of a broken heart. And he said, have you anything belong to your dad? So he says, I have the hat. I said, bring the hat. And he brought the hat down the following day or whatever, and he gave it, and the horse, Fanny, took the hat in his teeth and ran off, or she did. And the following morning he went down, there she was, dead, in the corner of the field.
She was waiting for permission to die. Yeah. Gosh.
So it was, I suppose, ever since I've had a great love of horses. Do you know what I mean? And
animals are so intuitive, aren't they?
They're intuitive, and only for the fact I saw it, I would have said, nah, that's a made-up story, but it's not. It actually happened.
What a contrast, though, to the life that you were living as a young child in the Bronx. Yeah. Was it kind of Irish people that you were... What was school like, for instance,
We went to school in St. Anne's, and we had a teacher, Sister Thomas, from Sligo, and there was only another Irish lad from Wexford, Dennis Murphy, who gives me an odd text because they came home as well. But every morning when we'd go to the school, hail, rain, sleet or snow, we'd stand and we'd swear our allegiance to the American flag.
Every school day?
Every day. And I loved the school, I have to say. Every Wednesday, there was always a fire drill. And the fire drill, there was police and there was ambulances and fire brigades called. And in fact, it was the public school down the road near Jerome Avenue that had a half day. And the guys there, the lads, would call up the school and say there was a bomb in the school. So we get a half day every Wednesday, thanks to the local. On Sundays, I go to Gaelic Park.
With your mum and dad?
Bronx, mum and dad. And that was like an employment exchange rather than just a football and hurling field. Dad always wanted to travel. So he got a job with Thomas Cook, and then he was with Aer Lingus for a little while, and then he went out, Fairways Travel was another place, and then he went out on his own. This is before the internet. Wow. So when Mary McAleese or Mary Kennedy wanted to come home from the Bronx, they would go to a travel agent and they'd book their flights.
And they get a little ticket.
And they get a ticket, yeah, correct.
And the ticket would have about 10 pages in it.
It would, that's correct.
It was like
that's
a checkbook.
Right. Yes, correct.
It's like a checkbook.
Yeah. So Dad, I know what it was, 4, 5, 6, I suppose, but Dad would bring me to Kennedy Airport, and I loved planes. I mean, I grew up wanting to do several things. I mean, my parents, I think, at one stage wanted me to be a priest, as I think a lot of Irish families did. That was never going to happen.
But you played at priest in the kitchen, didn't you?
I did. Mary Kennedy, I did.
Just before. Tell us what you used to do.
I used to pretend to be a priest. I'd have a towel thrown over my shoulder. And in Ireland, when I came home, the Marietta biscuit was the host. And a wine glass was the chalice, and I'd throw a wash towel or whatever over it and put one of these kind of table things over. You know the way they used to?
Yeah, apprenticeship served.
Yeah, I had my apprenticeship served. But then I discovered girls, and I said, nah, not for me. That celibacy life is not for Marty. But yeah, I mean, it was a mixture of cultures, of American culture coming at me from Monday to Friday, and then Irish culture. And
it's very enriching, the childhood that you had, isn't it? With the mix, as you say, of cultures, the Yanks and then the Gaelic at the weekend.
When we came home, my father bought a pub in West Clare, the only pub in Quilty. And there was a pub and there was a dance hall.
What prompted him and your mum to come back to Ireland?
Well, there was, as I said, there was a dance hall, there was a shop, an old grocery shop and a bar. And it came up when I was 10, when in fact they probably wanted to stay another couple of years. Conscription was in America at the time. So when you went to high school, when you finished in high school, you had to serve your time with the American forces. And
I can't imagine Peggy Morrissey allowed that for her son.
My son would not lose his life for the Americans. So
the Vietnam War would have been in full tilt.
It would have been. It would have been, yeah. So when Casey's pub, as it was known, came up for sale, my father was in the travel business, said my mother was working for insurance in Manhattan, and she was a secretary, a receptionist in Fordham University by night. So they worked their backsides off. And between the dance hall, the shop and the bar, and the Leon, it was all of £20,000. And that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money even then.
But when you think of it now,
no,
but it was a lot. We were 4D apartment, and you look out. We were in the back, like we were one bedroom apartment, and we look out the back and we saw all the lights of the other apartments. And I remember my father going out to the fire escape, trying to listen to me Hall O'Hare on the radio with the wireless and the long aerial.
Yes.
And my mother saying, I can remember these things quicker than I can remember what happened 3 weeks ago now. But Martin, would you ever come in? It's ridiculous. And the window, it's freezing, the window's up. But he eventually get me Hall O'Hare. And it could be Tipperary and Kilkenny or Down in Kerry or whatever it was. It wouldn't be Clare at all.
Yeah.
And he'd be coming in, he'd be crying.
It was a link.
It was a link.
Yeah.
It was my Hall O'Hare, and it was the link to the Gaelic games. And Clare were going nowhere at the time. But I kind of remember it, and then when you forward years later, and you're given the microphone after the great Micheál and Hertig that I love dearly, retired, and you think of
people
Roger
like your
here.
dad.
Yes, and you think of what is now called the diaspora, and you think this resonates with people because they might be able to see it. Now they do now, but things have improved or changed. But
for a long time, if you were in Australia or you're in London or if you're in Birmingham or New York or the Bronx, it was the radio and it was that voice. It was the voice. It was those. And you're now part of that small tribe of voices that the minute you hear the phrase, just a minute, you're back home. You're in Ireland, wherever you are in the world.
I remember when Micheál retired in 2011, I think. It was 2012, I think, was the first All Ireland that I did on the radio. And I decided, with this unique honour, to be given the microphone. It's a huge responsibility, and as you say, I felt privileged. And I said, how am I going to introduce this All Ireland final? And I decided that I would mention not me specifically, my background, but knowing that people would be listening in different parts. So I put up on Twitter, as you do, and I said, where will you be listening again? Because it was radio. And I couldn't get over. One fella says in my kitchen, and I said, okay, I have to be a little bit more specific here. I didn't phrase the question right, as they taught me when I was doing the HDIP in UCC. Phrase your question right. So I said, okay, I need to do this properly. Where in the world specifically would you be? So the Defence Forces in Lebanon came back to me, and one fellow was in Africa, in Sudan. You know what I mean? And there was loads of people, and there was another fellow in Moscow, and so I kind of put a couple of bullet points together, and I got a huge response.
That's very nice.
But it was I only did it because of my own background. I knew that it meant an awful lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Your commentary career had a very different start, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
On the back of a trailer, was it?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was like I was probably a nightmare to my parents because I went to college and I did a couple of years of doing medicine. I was doing I remember there was pre-med, first med, second med, was doing anatomy.
You studied medicine for 3 years.
I did, yeah, for 3 years. But I think my mother had the ambition of me being a doctor than me myself. I thought, God, I could cure the world. I could wear a lovely white jacket and I could meet loads of nurses. They were my ambitions. So not quite the whole, there's blood here, you know. So I remember...
were you averse to blood?
I was then, yeah. And I still am, by the way. And I was on the Sigerson team. We were playing in Belfast, actually. And I remember getting on the bus, and one of our selectors was involved in science and medicine. And the lads were all, saying, "Oh, arse slicker." I was sitting beside the professor. And I said, "I'm not too sure about what I'm doing." And so he said, "Why don't you change to do a different degree?" So I changed, and I did science, and I did my HDip. And I had to persuade my parents that what I was doing was the right thing. And being an only child of only children, and suddenly you're changing courses, having worked so hard and all this sort of thing. When we came back from America, the school in Spanish Point was all girls. It was a boarding school. The school in Ennistimon and CBS was all Oscuelga. And Kilrush was difficult to get to by bus. So Flannan's was the choice. And thanks be to God, because I was a great school. And I played football and hurling, and I got on the football team and all that sort of thing. And I suppose...
But you were smart as well. You academically, when you think you're coming back, having done all your early schooling in the United States, you come back and you go to school in Flannan's, and you're leaving cert at 16 years of age.
Yeah, I was. You're dead on.
Yeah, 16 years of age.
It was too young.
And getting into medicine. Yeah.
It was too young, and really it should have been... I should have gone to primary school for a year probably. But anyway, the school in Spanish Point was all girls at the time. But when I did my HDip, it was changing to co-educational. And one day I was at home, and this woman knocked on the front door. And as you know, in rural Ireland, people don't knock on the front door, they come in the back door.
Yeah.
And this woman was in front of me, and I said, I invited her, and she wanted to meet Martin Morrissey. And I said, yeah, he'll be home shortly. And I just noticed as she was sitting down, there was a cross on her lapel. And I said, "Are you a nun?" She says, "I am. I'm Sister Cecilia Houlihan." And Cecilia wanted a coach, manager of the football team in the school because it was co-educational. And she says, "Father O'Keefe has recommended Martin Morrissey." And I said, "Cecilia, it's me you're looking for." "I couldn't be you. You're only, how old are you?" I was 19 or 20, I know what I was at the time. I ended up teaching at weekends when I came home from Cork. And then the following year, I was probably going to go back to college. But in August, Sister Cecilia came to me and says, "Will you teach PE for the month of September?" No qualification whatsoever in PE. Just whatever I did as a young lad playing football, drills.
You could have taught them physics,
I could have,
science, microbiology, anatomy.
Yeah, I could.
But she wants you to coach them.
Yeah.
Right.
So we ran around the hall, we ran around the field. We did, I had learned from college. So towards the end, Sister Baptist felt unwell. She was the science teacher. And they asked me to take the science class for 2 weeks, or leaving cert. And I did. And then I went to the end of October. And then I went to Christmas. And they said, "Look, will you stay for the year?" And I stayed for, I think, almost 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And
did you love it, Marty?
I loved it.
Did you?
I did. And I loved being involved with the young people. We won I just have to say, we won the Munster Colleges football.
You did?
For the first time ever. And we had a great team. We should have been A, we were C because of the number of students we had. Sometimes it was difficult when you go to the local disco and you meet your students, because I was a neighbour, I was in the thing.
A couple of years older than them.
Yeah, correct. So anyway, I just said, and I also looked around and I said, do I really want to be here until I'm 65? I came home too early, I felt. But just the opportunity came, and I ended up teaching science and maths and all that sort of stuff. And I loved it. But then one day, in October 1984, this is really the dark ages, Mary, now. In October 1984, I got a call from Patrick Galvin, who owned the post office in Quincy. Would I do the county final, under-21 final, between Kilmurray-Abricken, my club, and Miltown Malbay, where I was teaching in the parish, neighbouring parish. And I said, not a chance. And I said, Patrick Murray, Jerry McCarthy, Brian, I mentioned lads. And none of them, he went back to them, none of them would do it. And I wasn't one of these guys. You know, people who want to be DJs or broadcasters, they'd be putting on tapes or listening to themselves. I was never doing that. At 11:30, I remember, I said, okay, I'll do it for you, Patrick. And I went down to Shanahan, McNamara, Memorial Park in Quebec, with black trench coat, curly hair all over the place, looking what I thought very sexy indeed. But when I look at it now, it was awful.
I've seen the photograph.
Have you seen the photograph?
Diabolical. Put it up on our website.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. No. And I started with a guy called Pascal Brooks, who and we still work together in RT. And to make the money, some of it, most of it, I mean, I obviously was getting nothing, but it was for the club and to pay Pascal's camera. So the following night, the Monday night, there was a big crowd gathered in the bar that we once had into the dance hall, and they charged 50 pence each to go in. And the place was mobbed. And I left it when the thing came on because I thought, this is cringing. But people seem to like it. Now, when I listen to it, it is diabolical, to be honest with you. But it kind of started me off. It started me off.
Yeah.
And then people say, oh, you should apply to RT. And I said, no, RT is for people in Dublin. I had this notion. So then I started applying.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that when I was in Spanish Point, around the corner from Spanish Point was Lahab's post office. So at 11 o'clock in the break, I'd drive down for the post office. And, there was a telephone box, because we didn't have mobile phones.
Yeah.
This is aging us big time.
It was the AB thing.
It was the AB.
Put the money in and push the button.
Yeah, it was one of those.
Right. That really was.
I was ringing RTE
Yeah.
to know would they give me a try.
And did you keep at it?
I kept at it.
That is a really important lesson for people to learn, isn't it?
It is.
And did they spurn you? I mean,
They did. I was gone. I was doing it for, that was 84, 85, 86, whatever. And finally in 89, they gave me a chance.
3 years of pushing that button, those A and B buttons.
I remember coming up to Dublin. I rang the sports department, and there was a thin line between being a pain in the ass and trying to persuade people to give you a chance. And there was no other place to go at the time.
I know.
So you really, it was difficult. And then I told nobody, because you didn't want anybody to think, look at your man with his notions of joining RTE.
I can relate to that too.
You're joking. Cop on to yourself. So anyway, I rang the sports department, and I got a nice man called Frank Whelan. And Frank said to me, listen here, we've decided we're either going to give you something or we're going to tell you where to go. And I said, okay. I said, I'll take a day off, like 2 days later type of thing. And we met in Madigan's and in Donnybrook. And he said, look, I'm going to have a word with Tim O'Connor, who was the head of sport.
Yeah.
And I had written to Fred Cogley because I thought he was the head of sport, but Tim was actually the boss. So anyway, he says, look, I'm going to say to Tim, either give you a proper chance or tell you where to go. And I won't say it because of your podcast, but it was straight down the middle. I said, grand. So Christmas came, Christmas went, January came, and in February, I got a phone call from Frank. At this stage, I left teaching, and I got into Cork Multi-Channel in Cork.
Oh, right.
As cable TV. He rang me and he said, we want you to do Dublin Roscommon on Sunday in Croke Park. And I said, oh, very good. And when will I get the result of the audition? He says, on Sunday night. Jesus, that's very quick. And I knew now at this stage this was very quick by RTE standards. So I said, really? Yeah, we're putting it out on Sunday Sport. Really? Well, I almost died. Do you know what I mean?
But you gave the right answer, yes.
Oh, 100%, yeah, I'll be there. But it was kind of so much frustration and so much trying. This will never happen.
Yeah.
But there is, I suppose, a lesson there if you want.
I think so.
Persevering.
Keep going.
Why didn't you just say, oh, look, it's obviously not for me? Like many's have won after 3 years of being spurned. Or
I probably wanted it, Mary.
You wanted it so much.
Yeah, and I thought, and you know what, the more they rejected me, the more I wanted it.
The more you were determined.
It was more... Yeah. It was more of being stubborn.
Yeah.
I said, all I wanted was a chance. And if the chance never came, I mean, I'd done 2 auditions, but they never gave me the result of it. So it was like that year, 1989, I did 13 matches. And all of them pre-recorded, and because there was no live. And the only live game was in the All-Ireland semi-finals. So Ger Canning was doing the Galway Tipperary All-Ireland hurling semi-final, and I was doing Antrim and Offaly. So it was seen as the B game, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I know, yeah.
The minor game. But Antrim, they came to my rescue because Ulcan McFetridge and Woody and Niall Patterson, all these now heroes of mine, they beat Offaly in the semi-final.
They did.
And they
surely did.
And Offaly formed a guard of honour for Offaly. I mean, it was for Antrim. And it was just an emotional day. And suddenly, Marty was on the 6 and the 9 o'clock news with Antrim. And so I suppose there's a bond there with the Antrim hurlers ever since.
Martin will be delighted. My Martin
will be delighted.
Former captain of the Antrim.
There you go.
Yes. Will he ever let us forget it? Yeah.
Marty, your career has gone stellar since then, and but I'm just wondering, how do you keep the enthusiasm going from year to year?
I think it's the love of what I do. I love what I do. I always have, never lost the passion. We all have bad days. We all have frustrating days. But I've always considered a privilege that people in their homes, in their sitting rooms, in their kitchens are listening to me doing a match or doing a radio show or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I've never lost that. I think we're all broadcasters here, obviously. And I think once you get the love and once you get the bug, it's very hard to give it up, to be honest. Because, I mean, what a gift to be able to talk on the radio or speak in your podcast and people are interested enough that they want to listen. And that, to me, I suppose, has kept my passion and love up.
And you've seen so many changes through the years in the GAA, haven't you?
Oh, man. A lot of changes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're doing the split season at the moment, and I'm not a fan of the split season. I think the All-Ireland should be in September. I think they're sacred.
Here.
And they're jewels in the crown. And we've given up, and I understand, I'm a clubman myself. I'm proud to be a clubman. But I think we've sacrificed an awful lot to try and make it work. I understand what the GA, I'm not being anyway critical of the GA. The people in Croke Park are trying to solve a problem.
And it is a problem.
And it is a problem.
It's also a problem of a sporting organisation that's doing so formidably well.
Correct.
That's the problem.
That's true.
It's trying to accommodate. I mean, I don't know many, but we've almost 1 million members between the three codes, the LGFN, the Camogie and the GAA. I mean, it's huge. It's huge.
I could be wrong on my figures now, but so don't tie me to this. But something like in the Munster Championship in the all the 6 counties, there's something like 2,500 games, club games.
There you go.
Like
how do you accommodate that?
Like before, you'd have a knockout game and you'd be gone. But now every club wants to have 4 or 5 games. So that's huge in terms of personnel, in terms of time, logistics, everything. So, but at the same time, for me, All-Ireland finals, 1st and 3rd Sunday in September, hold on to that and let's try and all put our heads together and come up with a better solution than what we have.
Yeah.
I think it's still out there in the ether up for discussion, isn't it?
I think it is. I mean, we can't...
There was a lot of discussion this year about it, wasn't there?
Yeah. I think there was a possibility. I think we're merging into August. I remember when Limerick won the All-Ireland in 2017, I think, they beat Galway. And Limerick were very good to me because they asked me to MC the homecoming in the Gaelic grounds, which I considered a great honour. And there was 100,000 people in the Gaelic grounds. And the following year, they lost the following year. And then the following year, I was on the bus with them. And we stopped the bus in O'Connell Street because the guard said, there's a small crowd at the Gaelic grounds and we need to hold on to the bus for a while or whatever. Maybe it was 2 years later. Oh no, they'd won the 3 in a row. That was it. So whatever year.
3 in a row.
So everybody thought there's going to be a massive crowd. But there wasn't because at the time in July,
they were on holidays.
They were on holidays in Ballybunion and Kilkee. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the young children deserve, whether you're from Kildare or Donegal, when All-Ireland finals come around, and if it happens that you're lucky that your county is in the All-Ireland final, my God, the impact that has on children is huge. And we're missing that because they're all on holidays.
Yeah, true.
So,
good point.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go back to September. That was my rant for today.
Yeah. And when you look back over all the wonderful, occasions that you've been part of and witnessed, is there any one in particular that, just is very, very special to you?
Well, we'll take for granted about Clare winning the All-Ireland, right? So put that aside.
Yeah.
But if you ask me what was one event that really stood out, believe it or not, it was 2012 at the Olympics, because Katie Taylor won her gold medal, and I was covering boxing at the time. And Jimmy McGee was beside me, the great late Jimmy McGee.
I know.
And he loved Katie Taylor.
He loved Katie Taylor.
He loved Katie.
And we were in the Excel Arena in London. That was the arena for boxing. And to hear the fields of Athenry being sung within that hollowed hall by the Irish, and knowing our history of our country, and at every exit was a British Army soldier, and the Irish draped in the tricolour going up for a selfie, and the British Army soldiers welcoming them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, lovely.
And embracing it. It was just wonderful. I mean, I felt there was history in front of us. Apart from Katie Taylor, because she was the first boxer, it was the first time they left female boxers in, when you think of it now.
I know.
Anyway, but that moment, and to be there with a microphone again describing Katie Taylor.
It's lovely to relive it with you. It sounds very emotional.
It was emotional.
Yeah.
It was, and the beauty of it is, every time she fought, it was the same reaction. The fields of Athenry. Do you know what I mean? At full volume. A sense of pride in being Irish.
Tell us about your dancing career.
Well, I'll state from the beginning, I should have won Dancing with the Stars. You know, I mean, we were regarded, Mary Kennedy. Yeah.
Too disappointed.
Not the same year, so very disappointed.
We were very
They missed out on a...
You were eliminated too early.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
were, and it's one of my greatest regrets that we didn't win, you and I. I have to say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Mary, that doing dancing was one of the highlights of our lives.
Definitely.
Really, was it?
It was that good, Mary. It really was.
Hi, I'm Raj Punjabi from HuffPost.
And I'm Noah Michelson, also from HuffPost.
And we're the hosts of Am I Doing It Wrong? A new podcast that explores the all-too-human anxieties we have about trying to get our lives right.
Each week on the podcast, Raj and I pick a new topic that we want to understand better and bring a guest expert on to talk us through how to get it right.
And we're talking like legit, credible experts. Doctors, PhDs, all-around superheroes.
From HuffPost and Acast Studios, check out Am I Doing It Wrong? Wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Because, well, first of all, I didn't really want to do it. Larry Bass had asked me, and I said, no. And I was actually, believe it or not, going to Australia. There was some tournament out there, and at the time we were covering it, and Galway and Kilkenny, I remember. So by the time I came back, I took a week off, 2 weeks off. I said, I want to do this dancing. And he, in fairness to Larry, he kept at me. So I ended up at the end of November meeting Ksenia, my dance partner for the Dancing with the Stars, and we rehearsed in Liffey Trust, which is beside the Gibson Hotel. And meet all the professional dancers, and they all had these sculptured bodies, and they were all beautiful.
They're athletes.
They're athletes.
They are athletes.
What they do with their bodies is remarkable.
Unreal.
So here was Morrissey in with all the professional dancers, with his cans of Coke at the time, and chicken wings for lunch.
Very nice.
And chips.
And had you much of a history as a dancer before that?
No, I did Irish dancing at home in Clare, but it was... I gave it up.
Right.
It was kind of, and the lads were slagging me up. What are you doing, that whole dancing thing? You know, it just wasn't. And oh my God, Mary, when I think of what I had at my doorstep, and I didn't avail of it. In our bar at the time was Willie Clancy, Junior Crehan, Paddy Galvin, John Fennell. There were so many of the legends of traditional music. And what was Marty doing? Oh, playing ball out the back. You know what I mean? When I should have been, they were in the bar.
Yeah.
And Joe Burke was a great friend of Dad's, a great accordion player. And I still love that.
Of course you do.
Traditional music. It's in my bones at this stage. But anyway, to answer your question, no, I didn't. I was.
You had not had a previous distinguished career as an Irish dancer or any kind of dancer.
That's why you were President of Ireland. You have a great grasp of English language. She says it better than the rest of us. But yes, you're correct. So anyway, when I started looking around, I said, I better start eating this grass, as I call it, salad and water. But it was not alone learning the steps, which were difficult, but it was actually losing. I lost 2 stone from the end of November to March when I was eliminated. But I remember the real challenge, and the scary part was I had 6 weeks. My first song was a quick step, Me Oh My, Joe Dolan. Me oh my, you're such, you know that one? And I thought when it was quick step, I thought it was like the jives we have at home. And
I love the quick step.
Yeah, and Ksenia said, no, frame, this frame. So anyway, we had 6 weeks to practice Joe Dolan, and we got over it the first week. I remember going down to the rehearsal. You go down to the rehearsal on a Saturday, and I was the last one on the first programme. And so I went down to the floor and holding Ksenia's hands, and once the music came on, over the music, all I could hear was laughter. From the crew, from the camera lads and the sound lads. Look at Marty trying to do his thing. So they said, cut, do it again. And I was, and eventually I started laughing.
Marty,
I was doing my best, yeah. So anyway, we got through that. But then after that, it's week by week. So you go in on a Monday morning. Ksenia and all the professionals were staying in DC at the time. And to speed us up, I used to go up and collect her up the motorway and go down to Liffey Trust. And we'd start about 9:30. We'd break for lunch for the grass. And
I hasten to add, we're talking salad here.
Well, we're salad, sorry. Yes,
yes, we're talking salad here.
Just in case.
Different minutes for different constituencies.
Thank you, yes. And 1 to 2, and then we go at it from 2. And then Rob Heffernan and Bernard O'Shea would come in from their rooms, and sometimes Deirdre O'Kane would come in. And we'd practice, and Tomás O'Leary was great fun. And we'd do our dances in front of each other. And then it began to kind of dawn on you, I don't have this, and it's now Thursday. You know what I mean? And then Saturday it will come, you have to go down to do the dress rehearsal, and Sunday you're live on television again.
And I found each week you got more and more frightened.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And yet you'd learn, there was certain steps that you began to learn that were in your next dance, and you could say, all right, you do this, you know what I mean? I mean, I was so delighted to go for as Programme 8. The one thing was we didn't want to eliminate first. That was the main thing. I left in Programme 8. In Programme 9, you have to do 2 dances.
That's right.
Now, that would have been beyond me. I know it would, because I was struggling with one.
Who won that year, Marty?
Jake Carter.
Oh, well, in fairness, yeah.
No, he shouldn't have won a Mary Kennedy. You're joking with me. I should have won it.
Second best, I know. But isn't it lovely the way you're using your body when you're doing the dancing? You're brilliant. Stretching, and the physicality of it is
and the outfits.
Uplifting. The outfits.
The amount of time and effort, it is so professionally done. I met David Gillick the other night, and he'd been asked twice already, and he said, well, the baby was due and all that. And I said, David, it's a life-changing experience. And I remember when I was eliminated, Rob Heffernan was celebrating a birthday that night, so we went out. But then the following day, we did the Walk of Shame. And the Walk of Shame was going on Ryan Tubridy's programme on Radio 1 at 9 o'clock, and say, well, we're out of the competition. But after that, suddenly, everything we'd done for 3 months was gone. Because I miss Ksenia from going up and collecting.
You have separation pangs.
Yeah, you do. And then you're saying, God, you're not going to be there next Sunday night. And the consolation prize was you were back in the final night, and you did a group dance, which was grand. It was a bit of crack. But it was, of all the things I've done, I suppose, I have to say Dancing with the Stars for me was up there as... And
likewise for me.
It wasn't it down there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd recommend All Ireland finals was what I wanted. I mean, that's number one. It has to be number one. But by God, Dancing with the Stars is very close.
Next year, Mary.
No way. And you weren't, because Larry, we've had this conversation.
Oh, have you really? Yeah.
Yes. But you weren't mortified watching yourself, because you were saying even when you heard your own voice before, you were annoyed listening to yourself. Yeah. But you weren't mortified watching yourself.
I was mortified when I did. What was the name of that song? But I dressed up in a cape, but I got all the steps wrong. And you know what I mean? And you're doing it wrong. And you can't catch up.
It's hard to recover.
It's hard to recover. Once it goes wrong, you're gone. Do you know what I mean? And I turned around, the cape. The cape with the back.
Paso Doble or something?
Paso Doble. Yeah, jeez, it was awful hard. But anyway, I put the cape on, and I was the king of dance. And I knew as I faced the wall, I wasn't the king of dance that night. But this was behind me. Now, I was mortified that night. And the night we went out, and Ksenia and myself were great friends, and we're still in contact. But every time we hear it, we went out on Christa Berg, Lady in Red. But every time we hear it, we said, bloody song. And I love Christa Berg, by the way.
Yeah. For you.
But you know how you have a memory of, But great fun dancing.
Listen to you. Yeah, we know you're a people person. You really are a people person. So Do friends mean a lot to you? Do friendships and socialising and loyal friends?
Yeah, loyalty. I mean, I'm an only son of an only dad of an only mother.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We were 3 only children.
So no aunts and uncles.
No aunts or uncles. No,
cousins,
first cousins. No second cousins.
So unusual in Ireland.
It is kind of unusual. And like my father, when he went in, he was a Gaeilgeoir. Everything was as Gaeilge. And I remember when I was in New York as a child growing up, I said, how do you learn geography as Gaeilge? And he went off at a spiel, and I used to learn this. I must learn this, actually, you know. But obviously, when you're in New York, Irish is not part of the curriculum. So when I came back, I had to learn. Well, I didn't have to learn. I was exempt. But Father Mullen was the president of Flannan's, and my dad wanted me to learn the Irish language. Now, it was now I want to learn it even more, but back then I was learning it. I'm Shakacha, I'm Shashtanuk, and it was difficult. I remember learning. Do you remember there was a Peg book? Well, there was a Peg Sayers book, obviously.
Yeah.
But there was another book which gave you the answers to various questions about Peg. Oh. And it came up in the Pass Irish. So I learned every one of those answers off by heart.
These were pro forma answers.
Correct, thank you.
Yes.
And I ended up getting a C in my Pass Irish, which I'm kind of proud of.
Mahu.
But now, when I listen to the lads on TJ Carr, I love listening to the two of you. I mean, it's just, it is us. It is part of the Irish culture. And I really must learn it. I keep saying that.
I know this is very different, but Sidney Crawford is a big fan of yours, isn't that right?
Cindy, yeah, we go back a long way.
You and Cindy?
Mine and Cindy, oh yeah,
Crawford.
Cindy and myself. We met at the Beijing Olympics, and it was.
She said, "Oh, how are you, Marty?"
Across the crowded room, we looked at each other, and she was going down an elevator at the swimming, and I arrived. With a crew, and I shouted out in front of everybody, "Hi, Cindy, it's Marty from Irish TV," in my best American accent. "Oh, hi, Marty." She waved at me with her fingers, and that began and ended the relationship we had.
That's all.
That was all. She never wrote. She never sent me a text. She never sent me an email.
Did she not?
No, I was very disappointed with Cindy.
Her, yeah. But what was she like? Was she very
she was lovely.
statuesque?
She was. So she was beautiful.
For those moments.
Yeah.
Those moments.
And then she blanked you after that?
She blanked me after that.
Cancelled you?
Cancelled me, yeah. Cancelled me, yeah.
But
she missed out there, Marty.
I did, didn't I?
She did.
Oh, she did. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Well said.
From Dancing with the Stars to being cancelled by Cindy Crawford, there aren't that many people in that.
That doesn't look well on the CV.
Elite.
Yeah, but to answer your question, Mary, I rely on friends. Having no brothers or sisters, I have cousins in Tramore and Waterford, and I have cousins in Clare, and I have a few in Cork. You know what I mean, from family, and I'd be close to them. But I really, day to day, I rely on friends. I would be loyal to my friends, and I would like it back. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very lucky that while I mightn't have a very extended family in any shape or form, I do have great friends who are like brothers and sisters.
I remember talking about the number of people that kind of connect with you. I was doing an at home down in Quilty with you for Nationwide, and eventually I had to say to Marty, please don't make eye contact as we're walking up the road, because he would be stopping every 10 metres. Somebody would say, "Oh, how are you, Marty?" and it'd be up like that. And the same at the ploughing. You have to.
Ploughing is an experience, yeah. On your lawn or myself.
Everyone wants to be a part of you, Marty. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mary, for saying that. It's I really do appreciate it. But I've always, I am a people person, as you said, and I can barely send an email. And I'm not exaggerating that. I mean, there are people who are brilliant at that sort of stuff, and I'm not. But I like talking to people. Maybe it is being an only child. I don't know. I enjoy my own company when I have to, but ultimately I need people to feed off.
You were very close to your dad. You and your dad, wild close. And then your dad died. He's a brave long while dead now. And your mum not so. I remember the day your mummy died, but not so very long ago. But. Yeah. How did you get over the two of their deaths? Because you are the only son.
Yeah. I won't deny it's been very difficult. And when Dad died, I was actually in New York when Mom rang. And he'd seen me off at Shannon Airport because it was coming up to Christmas. Yeah. And I said, "Are you serious?" Because he had a heart attack a couple of years previously. And he had gotten stents in and pacemaker and all that. And he was fine. So flying home it was funny. I was in New York at the time. Do you know what I mean? And not funny, but strange. And it was a long journey back. And the only flight I could get back was to Dublin and then drive down. You know, that sort of extended piece. But anyway, but then I had Mom to myself for 17 years. And like, when I look back now, you knew her, Mary. Like, she was a woman of great strength.
She was.
And you didn't, like, she was small in stature, but big in forcefulness. And, but we were very, very close over those 17 years. And when your second parent goes, it seems, for me anyway, and I'm sure the same for everybody, it changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because suddenly that connection with home is not there. And
you step forward onto the front line, don't you?
You do, yeah. You know, and you, it is different. And the house, when I do go home, is very empty.
Do you spend much time there?
Not as much as I used to. And only at Christmas time did I get, that's 3 years and 2 weeks or whatever after she had died, her room was exactly the same for the last 3 years until Christmas. Because
Christmas just gone.
I went into the room, her front room was upstairs, and like the night of the accident, we just, you know, we dumped a lot of stuff. You know how you do in a panic in there. But ultimately, it was the way it was the night she left. But
and did you have to then, just in the recent time, did you have to undertake that job of almost sort of the death clearance that is done when a person dies?
There was a bit of that, and I felt, coming up to this Christmas, I felt after 3 years I needed to do something. I remember I love Christmas Eve, I kind of meet a couple of friends, and I meet Rob Heffernan in Cork. Then I go home. I always try and go home because I love being in the bar in Quilty and meeting all the people I grew up with, because they're home for Christmas. So I went up anyway on Christmas Eve, last Christmas, and the minute I went in the door, you kind of go up the steps and you turn right, the door opens, and there was a big crowd, and they were saying, Marty, come here. Are you coming home? And I said, what do you mean am I coming home? I'm at home. Well, you're not selling the house, are you? I said, no. I said, what's the skip doing there?
The skip has been seen.
The skip was seen. And I said, geez, I never thought of that, of the impact of the skip.
You should have put a notice.
I should have, no, I'm not going anywhere. But I just felt, now all my mom's clothes are there, and I will in time give them away, but I want to keep some of them, and Dad's suits are still there. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
So that connection will, and I'm sure it's the same. Grieving is not easy. I had somebody who told me that when their mother died, they were, within a week they had taken stuff out, and I said, they had said to me, don't do that. I said, I have no intention of doing that.
You take your time.
It was Mom's house and Dad's house, if you know what I mean, rather than my house, although it was my house.
There's a kind of a thing at the moment of people being told that in order to prepare for your own death, that you should, what's called death clean. You should,
don't leave it to your children.
Don't leave it for your kids to do. Get up into the roof space, get it done. Don't leave them there. Anyway, Martin and I decided we would do that. We went up into our roof space, and after an hour, I said, you know what, they can have it. You know what? I'm not doing this. Stab it into them. We leave it for them.
The two of them were a good combination. I mean, the only child thing was unusual in the sense that Dad left West Clare to go teaching in the patrician school in Mallow, and he rented a room from the Barretts in Mallow, and they happened to be cousins of my mother. And my mother arrives in.
Well, that's how they met.
That's how they met. She was going to be she was training to be a hairdresser, and she was an only child. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it was kind of unusual.
Yeah. Marty, when you look to the future, say for instance 5 years' time, what would you like to be doing? Would you like to be still working?
I would, to be honest with you. I mean, as we get older, we all think of what could we do next, if you know what I mean. I don't want work to really define me either, to be honest. But that having been said, I'm privileged and lucky, as I said, to do what I do. I would like to do an entertainment show. I love the crack, and you know what I mean.
Well, I associate you with the big national holidays when you take over the airwaves.
Oh yeah, and on the bank holiday. I love
you're great at that.
Thank you. I love doing that radio show. I mean, I think radio is a great medium. I think we all agree, because you can give more of yourself. It's very hard in a news package to give of yourself. It's not meant, you're relaying the message. You're the facilitator. We've all done it, we know what it is. Where on radio you can have a bit of fun when the two Marys come in.
Yeah.
And you can have a bit of banter.
Book us in for the next bank holiday.
What are you doing in St. Bridget's Day or whatever, March, saying St. Patrick's Day?
But you did do the Marty party, the kind of the live venues. What was that like?
Yeah,
Around the country, you did these.
Yeah, Mario Rosenstock and Oliver Callan have to take full credit for this, because they started outside mimicking me with a pink shirt, buttoned all the way down to my belly button.
Unbuttoned,
hair all over the place, white teeth, and instead of saying Marty Morrissey, RTE News, Croke Park, it'd be, hello, I'm Marty and I like to party. So
remember that.
This kind of was all the rage. And then Annie Geary, when we were doing Dancing with the Stars on the WhatsApp group, she called all of us who were participating in the dancing, she called the app the Marty Party. And of course the papers loved it, and Ken in the Sun loved it. And so as a result of the two boys, I said, either I embrace this or I don't. So I said, let's have, because I love music and I love dancing, my type of dancing, as I say. And I organised the Marty Party. So we had shows in Killarney, Limerick, then we went to Letterkenny. It was great fun.
Yeah.
And then...
and it was very traditional, wasn't it? Because I remember my daughter was actually at the one in the UL, and the raffle prize, Mary, was a box of USA biscuits.
But you could also win 2 tickets from Shannon Airport.
Yeah, there you go.
We know that.
Yeah.
But anyway, but we had USA biscuits as well.
USA biscuits. Not your heritage.
Yeah, correct. It wasn't Kimberley, it was USA biscuits.
USA biscuits.
I remember the late Sean Skehan from Kilester Travel came to Letterkenny, and Deirdre Grant, the two of them came, and they said, you should do this in Spain. And I said, not a hope. Because in Spain, because I said it's too expensive, because there's a production, there's a sound, there's lighting. And anyway, they said, no, you should do it. And Sean Skehan really, really wanted me to do it. So, and the poor man died only just a couple of weeks ago. Lovely, lovely man. Off we went to Spain. We'll come back to our previous conversation about when you lose your parents and you lose that connection. Ever since, I've kind of wanted just to enjoy life. Because I have so many friends, we've mutual friends, that are sometimes diagnosed with cancer or whatever. Right. And you say to ourselves, let's live every day. And we need to be more positive. We're so critical. Like, we all want everything to be right. But the criticism that's out there now is so harsh that we just need to be. And I think dancing and music and people smiling for a week in the sun is great.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Tell me about the future for the GAA. We're on course now to bring all Gaelic games into one big organisation to integrate them, Ladies Gaelic Football, Camogie, and the codes within the GAA itself. But there'll be other big changes presumably coming down the line. I mean, you look at the kind of the imbalance between the big counties now and the small counties. How do you see all that working out in the end?
I'd be slightly worried. I mean, the GAA is in a very good position, but there are more and more people. Like, it's not immigration; it's migration. Like we've lost a great footballer at home, Keelan Sexton, because he's a lawyer here in Dublin, and he's joining Na Fianna. And he's a huge blow to us because he's brilliant. And same with every other small club in rural Ireland. And I don't blame them, because it's a long way from Dublin to West Clare or to Antrim or to Donegal or wherever they're going. So unfortunately, I think the stronger will get stronger. And it's very hard. It's very hard. What processes do you put in to kind of halt it a small bit? I do believe I kind of... this is a different topic, but I do believe that county managers should be from their county, or club managers should be from their clubs. And I think it would reduce down costs substantially as well. But we are where we are. The GAA, I mean, I love all sport. I love rugby, I love soccer as well. But the GAA, because of where I suppose I'm from, is the heartbeat of me and the heartbeat of our village, the heartbeat of our parish. And it gives that sense of pride when you wear that jersey, that this is us. This is us. Whether you're from Mayo, you're Mayo, and that's it.
Club is the core.
But club is the core. And I would think we have a very bright future in the GAA. But I'd be just worried that the smaller clubs, there was a club, I won't mention it now, but I remember when I started first, there was a club in the All-Ireland Club Final. And I've always asked about it because it was one of my first matches in Croke Park. And I said, where are they now? And they're kind of junior B. Do you know what I mean? You can't guarantee. Like, we were lucky in our club that we'd so many that joined the Guards, because they ended up in Limerick and Shannon and Ennis and Galway. But if we didn't have that sense, that employment, it would
they'd have drifted.
They would have drifted and have gone abroad.
Far off, yeah.
And people go, and I'm all in favour of people travelling, considering my own background. But to keep the club going is quite difficult, and you need always to have a recycling of people. Some people are brilliant to give their whole lives, but some people just get tired, and you need to have that rejuvenation of and that commitment to the parish and to the club, which I don't think will ever die, but we just need to mind it. Why do people from other countries love it? It's the sense of belonging, that they have fun. There is an arm stretched around you. I don't care where you're from. You come down, you train with us and have a bit of crack. And they love the fun, because that is what it is. That ultimately is what it is fun. I know there's a competitiveness in all sports, and that's important. But there is a fun element, and nobody should be left out.
No, and connection.
Yeah.
And, the kind of the conviviality afterwards.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye out for people.
And we love our music, and we love our laughter.
Yeah. And I love the fact too that on a given day, if you go to a local club, I'm thinking, for example, of my own local club back in Rostrevor, a number of the kids there who are very severely handicapped, and they could be quadriplegic even, in wheelchairs. They'll be out on the pitch, because it really is for everybody.
Inclusive.
It's for everybody. Yeah. And then the mammies, who used to stand on the sidelines or just be the chauffeurs up and down. Now you've got well, I call them the gamas, but I'm sure that is not what they call themselves. But my daughter's now involved with them. And to see just the sheer fun, and it is about fun.
Yeah.
You know what, they're pursuing really friendship through sport.
They are, correct.
And building up local community as they're doing it.
100%.
It's a great way of being introduced to your, say for instance, you move to a different parish. It's a great way of being introduced to it and included, and looked out for.
Can you imagine working in Dubai or whatever, and you don't know anybody, and you find, Dubai Celts, I'll find where they're training or whatever.
There you go.
And suddenly...
That happened to my daughter, my younger daughter. She went over to South Korea, and she played for the local team.
But Mary, you look at the world now, and the way the world is going in different directions that we would never expect. And yet, I know it goes back to us and Ireland, but look at what we've achieved.
Correct.
In the last 50, 60 years in particular.
And it is a phenomenal story.
It's an incredible story. We're only a little island on the periphery of Europe. I mean, you look at the acting. You look at... I love Liam Neeson. I love his movie. But Liam Neeson, Colin Farrell, the music that we've... Dolores Reardon, the late Dolores Reardon, which I also loved, and U2, and everybody else that's been, hitting the headlines.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you a story about acting as I think of it. Do you remember during COVID, Normal People...
Yes.
Was a big hit.
Big thing.
And I was doing the Bank Holiday Monday radio show. So Paul Mescal was big and is big and is after getting bigger now with Gladiator. I said it actually, I remember it. I don't know who it was at the time. I said, it'd be great to get Paul Mescal, he's Irish. And she said, there's no hope because everybody's been trying. Claire Byrne, everybody has been trying. And I said, you know what? There was a guy in that I thought when I graduated first, when I went teaching, Paul Mescal, but he's from Cree in Clare. And I said, no, this Paul Mescal is from Kildare. And I said, okay, I might be a cousin. So I rang Paul Mescal that I knew. And I had a big chat and all that sort of thing. And I said, Paul, do you know this guy that's acting? Big hit in Normal People. Do I know him? He says, he's my son. And I said, really? He said, he's my son. I said, I don't believe it. And I said, any chance to get him on the radio for the Bank Holiday Monday show? And that's how I got Paul Mescal on the radio show. I'm talking about community.
That is small.
That's right.
Quintessential Irish story.
Isn't it Irish? Yeah.
Quintessential.
And who you
of course,
know.
the dad wouldn't. The son would not say no to the dad.
No. Correct. So Ireland is small, but Ireland is big in heart.
Marty, we have a question that we ask everybody,
Yes.
the podcast being named Changing Times. And we're just wondering, is there any change that you would like to make, be it for yourself or, more generally?
That's a very good question. That's like Joe Duffy asking the meaning of life, the last question, isn't it? I think what I would like is for people to be kind to each other. I don't mean to be a goody-goody now, but I mean, I just think we've become so critical and so harsh. I think social media has allowed that harshness and that anger. And I understand some people are angry. But I think I'd like people to pull back a bit and not be as angry with each other and be kind to each other and empathise. Nobody's perfect. And we all pursue different things. And we try our best in whatever line of work we do. And it's never perfection. But I think we should stick together like what the GA does as a club, as a community, as a country, as Ireland. Because we as a nation are, in my opinion, and I know I'm biased, we're all biased, special. We have a former president of Ireland here sitting beside me. We are special because what we do in the world, when you consider what else is going on, here we are, a little dot, and Ireland is so loved by everybody, and how much respected we are, and how good we are at whether it's music, acting, culture, language, whatever it is, sport. We often play above our weight. Would you be proud of us? So I would just say, be kind.
So as always, a very big thank you to our producer, Enda Grace, here at Dundara Television and Media in County Kildare.
Thank you also to our diligent researcher, Anne-Marie Staunton, and of course to our wonderful sponsor, the Meadowlands Hotel in Tralee.
Don't forget to subscribe, comment or rate Changing Times.
So until next time, from all of us here in Allenwood in County Kildare, thank you for listening. Agus Gadeshiv Slán. Changing Times, the Allenwood Conversations.
Sponsored by the Meadowlands Hotel, Tralee.
To get people excited about Boost Mobile's new nationwide 5G network, we're offering unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month.
Forever.
Even if you have a baby.
Even if your baby has a baby.
Even if you grow old and wrinkly and you start repeating yourself.
Even if you start repeating yourself.
Even if you're on your deathbed and you need to make one last call.
Or text.
Right, or text. The long-lost son you abandoned at birth.
You'll still get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile.
Forever!
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Forever!
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, I'm Raj Punjabi from HuffPost.
And I'm Noah Michelson, also from HuffPost.
And we're the hosts of Am I Doing It Wrong? A new podcast that explores the all-too-human anxieties we have about trying to get our lives right.
Each week on the podcast, Raj and I pick a new topic that we want to understand better and bring a guest expert on to talk us through how to get it right.
And we're talking like legit, credible experts. Doctors, PhDs, all-around superheroes.
From HuffPost and Acast Studios, check out Am I Doing It Wrong? Wherever you get your podcasts.